There, the man who started it all is Claudio Chiappucci. He had the audacity to nip off from the main pack just after that 15-man group was caught, and so he's the one really who's just stirred this little lot up, and all due success to him. So the other rider in there, Brian Home at the back, riding for the Tulip team, is the one who makes up that foursome, and they've got quite a useful gap at the moment. In fact, it's getting more towards half a minute here, according to my timekeeper and note taker, Mr. Brian Montgomery, who has got the watch on this little lot. So we had 1 16-second check. Now we're getting it up to towards half a minute, and that is vital. We're just some 20 kilometres towards the finish, and about 12 miles as such. And there we are, the big group going underneath it, in towards this finish in Brussels, where we're going to finish past the Automium, the great big aluminium multi-ball device up in the sky. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these great big roundels connected by tubes up which the public travel by virtue of escalators and so on. And it was built in 1958 when they had the great big world show there. In fact, I remember going there myself, and I discovered in talking to my colleague here who's doing the commentary for our Dutch viewers that in fact he wasn't born then. It made me feel a bit old, I can tell you. Anyway, that's the sight that they will see as they're going in towards the finish. This great exhibition area, they're going to come up the straight finishing line and finish almost just outside the great big halls where they have the Dutch Motor Show and many other shows as well. That's up the Boulevard de Centenaire, and that awaits them. 20 kilometres to go, and this group of riders on the front still pressing on into Brussels. The time before I went through Brussels was when Patrick Sercu went away. That was in 1977, and he, on that stage, went straight through the centre of Brussels and out the other side to finish at Charleroi, where they were finishing very close to the airport, so we could all catch the airplane next day to, I think it was Frankfurt, but my memory's gone a bit blank on that one. But that was when Sercu in 77, we went straight through. He went off on his own and he won the stage that time. The last time we were in Brussels in 1981 for a finish as such, rather than going straight through as Sercu did, we had the great Freddie Martins win there, and it's been very much a place for the Belgian sprinters, because Walter Planckaert has won here. We go right back to 1947 when we first had a finish in Brussels. And of course it's going into Brussels now very much to celebrate the 1992, the year of the European Community, because this race, taking in as it is doing all the different countries that border France that are members of the EEC, and now we're in Brussels, going towards Brussels in Belgium, and tomorrow we actually touch through Holland on the stage. So there we are then, Chiappucci at the front still. He's had a second and a third in the Tour de France in the past. He's worn the polka dot jersey as the victor last year and the King of the Mountains. And what a gutsy rider is. It's quite amazing, you see, because Chiappucci is prepared to have a go and throws out all the normal tactics. Back behind, Indurain, they're working like machines, the Benestos are. Gattarella doing everything according to the book. But you get opportunists occasionally, like both Le Monde and Chiappucci. You can never really say that Le Monde's finished or Chiappucci, because both those two are likely to pull something out of the bag then. And the gap now has gone up to 45 seconds for these lead leaders, and we're now something like about 18 kilometres from the finish. So that's a very, very useful gap indeed, because as you go in towards the town, the twists and turns and the conditions of the road, where it's going to be very wet and slippy, I think we're probably like to find the big bunch having difficulty in staying upright. There's Sean Yates, number 69, just drifted through on the on your screens, and Buckler, as expected, beginning to get on the front. Same thing with Panasonics. Buckler have been a bit quiet so far in this tour, although the other day they had 3 men away on that stage into Bordeaux, and we thought they were going to get at least a podium place and get them in first or second or third place. But as one of the riders said after, I think it was Ludwig, he said, very neat finish then for Bucklers. They were 6th, 8th and 10th. They got all the numbers that were round, but they certainly didn't get in the first three. And that was a disappointment, I think, for them. They had nothing to show for the day out on the bicycles. So the Buckler then driving along, and we just had a quick look at Noel Sagers, who was in that break going into Bordeaux, and they just missed out on that one. Le Monde, followed by Chiappucci. Then Brian Home, and behind him is Laurent Jalabert. Just a quick recap then on the day's racing whilst we're watching these four. Chiapucci's been in action all the way through since we left Roubaix this morning. A day when we got 4 of 4th category climbs to go up, 2 3rd category climbs and a couple of sprints as well. And over the first of the climb, the Monte de Lenjus, it was Chiapucci that went over first from Capio and Ruth Cabestany. They all got back together again, and there was another attack by 4 men, and in that attack was none other than Claudio Chiapucci. And so Chiapucci went over the Quamont just ahead of Le Monde, who'd gone with him, Thierry Marie and Capio. They went down the other side. There was a sprint for the first of the sprints today, and yet again Chiapucci took that one from Le Monde, and Marie was in 3rd spot. By the time we went up the 3rd of the climbs of the day, Chiapucci went over the Queensberg in 1st spot, then Le Monde, Capio and Marie. De La Cuevas crashed the Benesto rider. Van Lanker Neulands also came down with a bump. They're averaging 45 kilometres per hour despite the fact it was raining very badly and the conditions were very slippy. By the 51 kilometre mark, Benesto and Gatorade were on the front going like stink, and Thierry Marie had nipped off and got away from that group of 3. They all got caught back in again except Marie, who stayed away. But then as he got swept up, another group came through and split on the front. We had 15 men away, and as we start this programme we saw them with only 1 minute and 10 seconds lead. They were Van Hooijdonk, Brooks, Hamston, Fondrier, Skibby, Alcala, Goltz, Rusen, Giaccoli, Arnaud, Marie, Pino, Cobino, Connolly and Retzi. Those 15 men then, as Rico abandoned, were just caught and coming in then towards Brussels with less than 20 kilometres to go. Those 4 men still hanging on a slender lead. Last we heard was some 45 seconds, and this is the main group. You can see Carrera beginning to infiltrate here to try and slow it down. Charlie Motti in there trying to push it on a bit for his RMO team, because they've got the best pace riders overall at the moment on general classification. Riding for RMO, Pascalino in the lead, the yellow jersey, and Varank, who has lost his green jersey to Museo. Yesterday Museo gained enough points just to move ahead on the points, and he is now wearing the green jersey. 68 points to Jalabert 60. Varank has dropped back and has now got 49 points, but the best young rider overall, Varank, has got that one. And yesterday the classement for the most competitive rider went to Steve Barr, as one would expect. So there we are then, the Carrera team. Look at them all watching in there and trying to disrupt activity. They're lying overall the fastest team on general classification ahead of Panasonic Sport Life, 68 hours 18:46 against Panasonic 68 hours 19:12, and they won the stage yesterday after that brilliant ride by Bontempi, who galloped over the line in tremendous style and brought off his 5th win in the Tour de France, and he's already won 14 stages of the Tour of Italy and 4 stages in the Tour of Spain. So Carrera have got their tails up, and so has Greg LeMond. Good to see Greg back in action. He went across and won the DuPont Tour, and that's perhaps not one of the world's greatest, toughest races, but parts of it can be a bit rough, particularly up the old Devil's Kitchen. But nevertheless, there is a hill call that, by the way. You know, if you can't stand the heat of the kitchen, get out. Chiapucci then on the front. LeMond dropping in behind. Jalabert's not contributing, nor is Brian Holm. It's left to these 2 to drive this one along. Well, I can see that Jalabert would like to win the sprint and get the stage, and Brian Holm sitting in there too isn't perhaps at the same level of the 3 in front, but I'm surprised that he's not actually contributing a bit, because 45 seconds is not really enough, and they're leaving it to Chiapucci and LeMond. Certainly the riders who are contesting the overall classification will be happy to think that both these 2 top riders, LeMond and Chiapucci, are having to work hard today, which should tire their legs down just a little bit. But nevertheless, I'm just a bit worried as to why the other 2 aren't contributing. But Chiapucci drops in behind Jalabert to try and urge him on a bit, and he's got a gap opening up now, but he's getting onto the wheel, swinging sharp left. These are the problems with these left-handers. The riders have to just take the line they see appropriate, following each other around, hope that somebody's got the right line in front of them and they don't go and thump into a grating. The worst thing is on corners like that, and you often get them, you get a metal grating for a sewer or something, and your wheels just hit that, and on the metal the rubber of your tyre just slides and bang, down you go. Oh, they're coming at them fast as now. We're going to take a short breaker. The chase is now on full flight. The Panasonics are trying to get them back. It's getting less than 40 seconds. Don't go away. What a cracking finish we're going to get. On some of the time checks that we're now with 10 kilometres to go, that this group of riders in front might well be well over a minute lead. We think it's somewhere around about 1 minute 18 seconds, the last check we have got. And so we put the watch on that 10 kilometre board. Let's hope also, if we don't get it over on our headphones from the radio tour, then we will certainly have our own little check going on here as the riders here. Jalabert just behind Brian Home, and up in front these two who are batting it out here. I should think that Le Monde and Chiappucci are really riding hard on this slight slope. Would certainly like to get the stage success because of the time bonuses that are at stake there at the end would be beneficial to both of them. But they really, I think, are throwing down the gauntlet and are showing the big men behind that they're prepared to attack, and you can really get stuck this way. The gap now then is 1 minute and 22 seconds, 1:22 the time we've got so far. And when they get across the line in the end, there'll be 20 seconds bonus for first, 12 seconds bonus for second place, and the third man will get 8 seconds. So there's a lot at stake here for these riders. Chiappucci at the moment, 5 minutes 20 seconds down on Pascolino, but he could well get past Bugno, because Bugno at the moment, I said already, Chiappucci's got himself 12 seconds bonus, so he's hovering to screw Bugno back a bit, and Le Monde, who was 5:55 this morning, could well move up into that top 10. He's in 14th place at the moment. 10 kilometres have been gone from time ago, and 1:25 is the gap at the moment for that chasing group. So 1:25 at the 10 kilometre point. Now that was the time check there. So and the riders at that 10 kilometre, the rest of the field all spread out, and Postobon here having a bit of difficulty hanging on to that group. It's beginning to break up somewhat, and tired legs it seemed then as he just edged back a little bit for the Panasonic rider. Eddie Bowman's a young rider indeed, of which a lot was thought would happen in this tour, but so far he hasn't really got up there and shown us any of his undoubted skills. So the group of riders coming through here, who's going to chase this one down? You see that the Infiltrate in the front, that the Tulip team have decided to try and slow things down a bit. Gatorade are trying. There's absolutely no organised force at the moment. This is absolutely surprising, really, that there's nobody who's attempting to get to these riders here. Brian Home in third spot, last year winner of the Paris Camembert, and he also won the Paris-Brussels event, so he knows his way into Brussels, does Brian Home. Today went Roubaix to Brussels, so Brian Home actually no stranger to finishing in first spot in Brussels. Just a bit of cobbles to bounce across, and of course these are the most diabolical conditions if you're turning into another side road. This is where you bounce around. These aren't too bad compared with the Paris-Roubaix cobbles, but certainly after you've been in the saddle now, as these riders have been in the saddle for something like 158 or 159 kilometres in the saddle, then certainly the bouncing, the buffeting, the bumping is one of the last things you want. So what you do, you just see your hands here, you have to relax a little bit, just get your elbows bent and let the handlebars just bounce up and down, but still hold control of them. And meantime, your bum has to go up and down on that saddle. There's not much you can do about that. If you try and lift your bum up and get your hands on the handlebars, then you get a buffeting up to the palms of your hands, and that causes vibration down your body. So it's better to sit back a bit. And whoops, I told you about the corners, being very careful. Now, this is going to play right into the hands of these four riders, because the big bunch, when they hit that one, will find it very difficult. They'll have to go around a lot slower. The riders from the... Oh, Yates has now moved up behind the jersey of Bugno. Bugno here and Yates. Yates taking the outside line behind Bugno. So there, the British jersey, the national championship jersey, I keep mentioning, so sorry for boring you, but it's the first time we've seen it in the Tour de France. Yates, who at Basqual a few years ago set up the fastest time trial in the Tour de France, riding for Motorola at the moment. And there we are, they're getting onto the cobbles. Yates has decided to put his hands onto the top of the bars, again for this bouncing and buffeting that you get. Just the way, look, and the same thing for Bugno. Oh, straight the way through. They're coming thick and fast now. Yates has marked that one as up right from the back of the pack then. That was Olaf Ludwig. Ludwig just there on the front now, and Charlie Motte trying to pull them back. Motte onto the wheel for his RMOT, and that's exactly what I thought would happen. we're going to get some awful crashes under these conditions, because yes, there's a whole load of riders come down, they're grabbing against the fence, the bikes are all over the place. This is the trouble with these sort of conditions, and you can see why today they do wear the crash hats. Nobody questions that at all in Brussels, in Belgium, because you have to wear your crash hat under conditions like that, and you can see why as Mayhem sets place now, and the pecking order now goes on. They try and find the Buckler rider, just come down with a bang, 133, picking himself up again. That's Jelle de Vries. There, Argentan is in trouble as well, so he's down, and we've got one or two riders who are really, really hurt in this one. One of Argentan's teammates there, Alta's gone down with a bang. So this is real mayhem as far as these riders are concerned. All the cars are being pulled behind, so these riders now, that's Dan Bakker from PDM, they'll all get themselves together, this group of riders, I should think, and start to come in, as De Vries, I think that is down on the floor as well. This has been a real nasty bang as far as they're concerned, and yes, Jelle de Vries, who was leading all the way into Bordeaux, is now well and truly hammered onto the ground. This has been a really nasty crash, but many of the riders, they don't seem to me to have actually broken anything, but I'm no doctor at this distance, but they slide mainly, and then once you get over the shock of it all, you've got to get back on your bike. That little regroup, the mechanics will be there. What often happens now in those circumstances, they take a quick look through, and except for Argentin, who's the #1 rider from the Aliaster team, the mechanics will look after the rider. But what often happens in those conditions, if their lower placed riders have been fetched down, the #1 team car keeps on going behind the main pack, and it's a #2 team car that pulls in and starts to service them and help them, because they're going to lose so much time. They don't want the #1 car to be out of touch with the rest of the race. So that's the tactics as Pucci winding it up with Le Mans, and they're beginning to get a little bit of a breakaway going here, just edging through. And Leger talking back to Le Mans, giving him some information about the time gap they have got, and we've lost touch of the times now, because with the 5 kilometre to go, another chance to do a time check on that disrupted bunch. You saw Bunyo getting towards the front, or if all the top riders recognise under these conditions they've got to get near the front to try and stay out of trouble, and these four have done an absolutely marvellous thing. All credit to Le Mans, all credit to Pucci, marked well by Jalabert and by Brian Holm. These four riders then are going to give everybody something to talk about. This tour has been one of the greatest talking points I've been on for many years. It keeps changing all the time. The tactics are changing, and whilst they sort of had that confidential air about them, confident air about them, the top riders, that they'll sort it all out in the Alps, and they may well do so yet. It's attacks like this, it's attacks like we've seen going so far, that have caused one or two riders to shock a few of the top men and make it very hard indeed. It hasn't been one of those races when you can just amble along at a steady speed and not go and get some of your strength zapped out by the conditions. Their average yesterday 47 kilometres per hour, just some 27.5 miles an hour. The average yesterday into a slight drifting headwind. That takes strength out of your legs. So here they are then on the stage into Brussels, the sixth stage of this, the 1992 Tour de France. We've had more drama yet again, and Le Mans here just edging forward. In fact, these two are working and the other two aren't. What disappointment it'll be if Jalabert comes off the wheel and gets himself a first place, which is what he's certainly looking for. And I suppose it's only fair tactics that they will do this, because they know when they get into Paris, these two are likely to be in the top 10. Jalabert and Holm will be struggling probably to stay in the top 30 or 40. No way in which I would be disrespectful to their performances, but these are the two big hitters. Greg LeMond on the front, back in fine form, driving in towards Brussels. We're going to take a short break. Don't go away. This is a real cliffhanger. News from the main group is that Stephen Roche is okay. He didn't come down that crash. He was up near the front at the moment with Sean Yates, also up near the front of that group with Gianni Bunyo. So good news for our Irish listeners. We haven't had information on Sean Kelly, but certainly Roche is up there at the moment, and Maximiliano Schiandri and Yates are putting the pressure on at the front of the group at the moment as we come now inside some 3 kilometres to go. The gap, I think, the last one we got was about 1 minute 27 seconds was the rough time check we had before, and still then this four-man group have done just the right thing to clop off on the attack as the rest of the pack are having troubles negotiating the turn. So the peloton now is not Group A, the peloton is absolutely splattered all over the roads, running in to Brussels. Here we are on the outskirts of the town on this stage, which has been quite short as far as the ride is concerned, 167 kilometres, and the finish will be in sight at some point. They'll see that enormous great up at the top of the Automnium is a restaurant, in fact, on the top of this great ball sticking up in the air. You'll see it in the distance before long, and then they're going to finish down there, and there will be the finish line. There were 2 kilometres to go. They're coming up now towards this wonderful park where the exhibitions are take place on the outskirts of Brussels. They're heading on back on in towards that now. They've gone round the side of Brussels, and they're coming in now from the west side in towards the east, heading in towards the Place de Belgique. And these four, undoubtedly for my money now, are going to stay away from the rest of the group, and I don't think there's any way they're going to get caught on this run-in. And there, the 3, 4, 5, 6 on. We've got a time check. We're making 1:23 as this chasing group here. I've got 1:23 to go. And look at that sharp bend. Again, that's going to work in the favour of the leaders. 1:23. I don't think, in fact, I know they're not going to get caught now, unless they fall off, of course. Brian Holmes seems to have got blasted a bit by the pace. He's losing his grip on the 3 up in front. Jalabert must be the man with the tremendous sprint that's hoping that he can go past the other 2. And Brian Holmes is searching down into his legs, the Danish rider. His name, in fact, used to be Brian Holmes Sorensen, but he changed it to stop the confusion with the Allier rider Sorensen, so he's now known as Brian Holmes. So the Danish rider lying off the back a bit. Jalabert up there in front. He had a couple of first places last year when he won a stage in the 4 days of Dunkirk, and he won a race at Alès, but normally second, third and fourth was Jalabert's mixture last year. He's in the pink for Onsafe. At the back there in the green is Brian Holmes for the Tulip team. Up in front then, Greg LeMond for Zed. Well, Greg can wind it up. You remember when in the World Championship, there I told he would see the Automium in the end, and there it is, right ahead of these riders. They have to go sweeping round that and past it and on up towards the finish line, which is right outside the Place de Belgique with the exhibition rooms in the background. A great sight. Many of you have been round the bypass round Brussels will have seen that enormous site in the distance, erected in 1958 for the World Show, and here showing the world what it's all about. Greg LeMond has come back with a bang, and Kierpucci in there, always gutsy, always prepared to have a go. He's been battling it out all day today, Kierpucci. He went with an early break, he's recovered, he got caught, he went away again. Brian Holmes moving on the left-hand side, Jalabert on the right, LeMond and Kierpucci, remember the 20 seconds bonus, then 12, then 8, on this slight uphill bit here. Brian Holmes, who's not done any work so far in this 4-man group, he's gone away just off the front as our helicopter nearly ran into the Automum. We've got the camera down low and the big screen up there for the people to see this one. Are they going to see LeMond? Are they going to see Kierpucci? Who's going to take this one? Holmes has wound his way to the front at long last. We've not seen much of him. Kierpucci stuck behind. In fact, no, it's Jalabert on the front. Jalabert has certainly got the best sprint of this lot, but I think Kierpucci and LeMond will be happy with the time they've gained. Here is Jalabert, winds his way up. He's going to get this stage. Jalabert gets it then. So Jalabert takes first place there. Kierpucci was second. LeMond was fourth. Brian Holmes in between them. So Kierpucci has now got 12 seconds, so whatever happens now, he's leapt over Gianni Bugno, but he's done more than that because the time clock down on the left-hand side will show the gap, and we're going to see then that Kierpucci moving up above Bugno. We'd probably like to see LeMond, who set out this morning then, as far as Bugno was concerned, he was just some 50 seconds down behind him. I think LeMond might be moving up there, so it could well put. Remember that this morning Bauer was 3 minutes and 11 seconds, Hepner 4:37 down on the leaders. So the gap then between Kierpucci and Hepner was this morning was just over a minute. So in fact, if that goes past a minute, Kierpucci could move up into fourth place. Doing my sums here, he was in fact 2 minutes down on Bauer. Bauer's at 3:11, so he's got 2:10 down there. If he goes as far as that 2:10, then undoubtedly Kierpucci could well move up into third spot. So we've juggled all the positions yet again, and here they go. Now it won't be 2 minutes, I don't think, from here. So they look like they're going to move up a bit behind Hepner, and Kierpucci and LeMond could find themselves in 5th and 6th place. Kierpucci being the best at lot. The sprint coming up then on the line. And so it was Johan Museeuw for the Lotto team taking the bunch sprint. That'll keep him in the green jersey of the points. 121 the gap then that was between them and the yellow jersey, and most of the adversaries was Johan Museeuw, who stealthily got that green jersey. He's been creeping up all the time, just getting the bunch sprint day after day. He's missed some of the big breaks that have gone away, but he's been working with a calculator in his head to get that green jersey on his shoulders. It's the national championship jersey of Belgium, which he's been wearing so far. And here comes this bunch of riders off the back. Many of these will have been delayed in that crash, and we hope that nobody was seriously hurt by it. A lot of the Aristera at the back there, they've been obviously looking for Moreno Argentin to see where he's got to. They're 2:10 down. I, in fact, didn't see the yellow jersey go over the line in that group, but I'm sure they would have kept him out of trouble. On the top, when you're juggling with all the numbers here, another pack coming in, another group of riders. That certainly was a nasty little crash. But there was a lovely sight of this ground. In those grounds in 1958, there were loads and loads of special displays set up. People built enormous pavilions. Around the British Pavilion, actually, there were some trees, and we weren't allowed to cut the trees down. The British Pavilion actually had the trees growing through the pavilion, and so that was what they had to do when they built that the exhibition. And after the exhibition was over, everybody was supposed to take down all their stands and take them away, and everybody had their own national exhibition built in a national style. But one or two of the countries suddenly realised they might as well give it to the Belgian nation, which was cheaper than knocking it down. The trouble was, half the people all wanted to give their stands to the Belgian nation, and they wouldn't allow that. They're up, so Jalabert winner of the stage. So Pasqualino in the bunch, we understand, still in yellow as we would have thought, but Jalabert, happy man then to add that to his many successes, and some compensation again to Onse for having lost that yellow jersey when Zilla took it on the stage into San Sebastian. And now the team from Onse have a success today with Jalabert winding up that sprint, and at the back behind him Chiappucci and Le Mans a bit disappointed, but a great sprinter like that, there's no way they could get past him because he hadn't done a lot of work in the run-in towards the finish in Brussels. Well, there we are, the rather wet crowd in the park, looking at some of the bedraggled riders who've had quite a buffeting. We're going to be back on air again tomorrow, covering the stage from Brussels to Valkenburg. So we're going into Holland, but Valkenburg is not the flat part, believe you me. It's what they call the Little Alps down there, and that Valkenburg is where Jan Raas won his World Championship a few years ago. So rather, we've got quite a tough day ahead of them tomorrow. There's no rest at all for them until they get to Dole, when they do have one day off, and there'll be some very tired legs, I feel sure. We've had all sorts of action so far in the Tour de France, but as we're now up on the north side of France, the trouble is the weather's pretty grotty, and these are the worst conditions for riders. They've got to go back and wash out their clothing and try and get it dry. Some of the teams like Onse do have a big bus with a washateer inside it, but there we are, confirmation of that group. Yes, Museeuw at 1 minute 22 seconds leading in the main peloton, such as it was, having they upended themselves on the way in. Well, up in Belgium now, no problems with the barrage as such. The Tour so far has got through without major incidents. Once, of course, we had the problems with the 7 cars being set on fire down in Spain, but after that now we seem to be having a good run through and skirting the edge of northern side of France. It should be okay to miss the barrage. There we are then. Oh, a new, hello, they've got a new, oh, it's a sprint jersey. Oh. Hang on, I'm trying to do my quick sums here, because Jalabert on the King of the on the sprints could well have taken that. Yes, he has, from Museeuw. There's a change in green jersey then, confirmed then. So another upset in the Tour de France. It's been like that all the way through. So myself, David Duffield, join us tomorrow for more.